But you have to look out for the family. That's what you and Bill know. Sometimes you got to look out for the family.
The best witnesses to government fraud, waste, and abuse are the criminals who are caught in the act. The people who do it every day, who know how the criminal organization works. Simply watching the criminals and talking to them while they're doing their thing often reveals their intentions. To prosecute these criminals, you often need to show intent, motive, and ability. I like catching them, not saying a thing, and then letting them watch it on a public broadcast. Unfortunately, the ringleader of the people I caught is the biggest censor ever. The crime family that I busted was led by Sally Quillian Yates. Of course, Yates was known to abuse FISA, as she is the chief suspect in the FISA attack against Trump and our election. She signed the fraudulent FISA warrant. As I expose her today, please consider if Sally's FISA warrant is something that's still happening to me. I'm going to be exposing her crime family, and I want you to think about whether they have the means, motive, and opportunity to abuse FISA still today in order to silence me as I attempt to warn you about the ongoing threat to you and our nation. Okay, can we get a picture 2, please? So this is Jim Jordan. He's just recently held a 3-hour-long hearing, a judicial oversight exposing the abuses of FISA. If you just watch the first few minutes of that hearing, you'll see that he tells us that at last count, there were 10,000 agents that could search billions of stored pieces of information on the FISA 702 database. He cites the Inspector General's report that 10,000 agents can search that, and they did 3 million searches in 1 year. Hundreds of thousands of those searches were definitely done in violation of the rules. Oh, wait a minute. That's just what they did on the American citizens. Probably closer to all of them were done illegally because they're not supposed to spy on American citizens with FISA in the United States. But nonetheless, what you're seeing is that this is rampant. I showed in my last video how if they spy on you, they can get into your computer, they can change the settings on your social apps, and anybody that you try to contact, they can prevent you from reaching the people they want to reach. And they have many other high technologies that they don't talk about, government secrets. I'm just pointing out all of this to point out that I think I'm still being censored. I think I'm still not able to reach the people that I need to reach in order to be heard by the proper authorities. Do you think the people that I'm exposing who abused FISA have the ability to manipulate and control social media and communications to censor me? Today, I'm going back to where this all began, to my case, to show what kind of corruption develops when the federal oversight protects organized crime using the spy agency's secret weapons. Today, I'm playing the recordings of government officials who don't realize they're part of a sting operation. They don't know that I'm recording them. These witnesses and criminals are caught up in massive government scandals. Some are disgusted and frustrated by what they have to do to make a living. Others have accepted the corruption as a way of life. Many of these people are scared to be whistleblowers. They live and work in a place where the Dixie Mafia, members of Sally Quillian Yates' Masonic family, have killed the witnesses for generations. If you want to see more on that, watch my past episodes. Today you're going to watch prosecutors, attorneys, and lawyers talk about targeting certain people for extortion. In this episode, it's mainly dads, through kidnapping and other unbelievable crimes. This organized crime, backed up not only by the sheriff and district attorney, but also the FBI and the U.S. attorney, Sally Quillian Yates, the nation's chief suspect in the grand conspiracy investigation, who I already busted 6 ways from Sunday. Hello, everybody. I'm Ferris Broxton. I'm the nation's most important unheard eyewitness. I already busted the chief suspect, as I told you, in the nation's top investigations. I already put it on YouTube years ago. that Sally Yates was running a grand conspiracy, and she was able to censor that. She took it off the internet, abusing her government power. Sally Yates' crime family orchestrated a kidnapping and held me as a hostage for almost 4 years. Then they used FISA to keep me silent. I'm going to show you some videos today of early attempts to kidnap me. When it's crazy. You'll see the videos of some of their first attempts to kidnap me. Then they used FISA to keep me silent. But I'm back to let you know that I really shook them down. How long would corrupt authorities have to keep your child from you before you took action? What action would you take? If attorneys just took your money, thousands and thousands of dollars at a time, and refused to report the obvious abuses of the courts, police, and judges, what would you do? If police officers came into your house and took tens of thousands of dollars of your property while they made you wait outside, how would you respond? You needed that money to hire more attorneys because the ones you hired wouldn't report the crimes of the judges and the authorities that stand over them. They simply robbed you of everything you had. If rogue police officers tried to kidnap you, pressing your face into the ground with a gun held at the back of your head, how would you retaliate? Today you're going to see what I did, and I think you're going to like it. Now, I don't want you to get the impression that this is what's happening everywhere. There are many good police officers. The police officers that I busted were selected and trained by criminals under Sally Quillian Yates' supervision. This is the legacy of Barrow and Jackson County, Georgia, the family-run circuit of the chief suspect in the nation's grand conspiracy case. I've already shown in previous videos that Sally Quillian Yates comes from a long line of secret society Masons that protected organized crime in the Piedmont Judicial Circuit in North Georgia, long before it had that name. I've shown that this Masonic family has been both close relatives with the Dixie Mafia and protected the Dixie Mafia, even long before the Dixie Mafia was called the Dixie Mafia. I've shown the history of hitmen in Barrow and Jackson County, Georgia, that are protected by Sally Quillian Yates' family, even to this day. I've played recordings of the biggest hitman's son, stating that many of the murders carried out by Sally Quillian's family hitmen were called in by attorneys and higher-ups. I've laid down this history, carefully documenting a policy of grand conspiracy and censorship in the most terrifying ways among the members of the Russell, Quillian, Allen, and Terrell families in Barrow and Jackson County, Georgia. Now again, not every single person with one of those last names is involved. I've exposed the specific individuals who are, and I've shown their Masonic history. This is an investigation exposing Sally Quillian, who told me that there is no God, rather that she was God, which I've documented very well before. Today you're going to see the evidence I collected when I went undercover to catch the corrupt cops, prosecutors, attorneys, and judges who kidnapped my son. There's too much evidence to put on just this show today. This is going to continue. Most victims, like myself, are ashamed and find no sympathy after the police brand them as wife beaters and abusers. Many pay the extortion that you're getting ready to hear about and do whatever possible to minimize the damage to their reputation, even when they did nothing wrong. Some lash out, giving corrupt law enforcement the response that they want, to say, see, we told you he was violent. We told you he was dangerous. I already asked you to think about how you would respond if you were attacked the way I was attacked. Most people I talk to say they would have lost it a long time ago. Give us more money so we can protect you better, these criminals tell everyone in the news, because they often control the media. I spent tens of thousands to defend myself against bogus charges that were brought against me. Still, every attorney I spoke to explained that I hadn't committed any crime, that this was the norm. They simply shrugged at me and took my money, said they would do something, and then didn't do it. I couldn't find a single attorney that would follow the legal requirements for reporting judicial misconduct. I couldn't find a single attorney that would review the original courtroom recordings so I could prove that the transcripts were missing important statements that exonerated me and proved law enforcement was conspiring to falsify my case. Remember, my mother-in-law was a transcriptionist for the judge. Rather, they were brazen enough to simply take my money and let corrupt judges make illegal rulings against me. So I started recording them. I was simply trying to find an attorney that would do what they are sworn to do, and I documented everyone that failed to report the obvious corruption. Every one of the attorneys I recorded failed to fulfill their ethical responsibility. Every single one told me about multiple ethical violations, yet despite their sworn duty to report these, nobody was willing to file a single report. What you're going to hear is the legacy of the Freemasons, what a secret conspiring society does to the fabric of our nation. When Freemasons have sworn loyalty to each other and can't report on each other's ethical violations, they completely destroy our communities. Grand conspiracy is the problem. That's their hallmark. It is their way of life. It's just more widespread than anyone cares to admit. A problem so big and powerful that the victims are afraid to speak up. The people who live and work in the court system don't have any other options. I had the chance to catch them, and I did. I took my case to nearly every attorney in town and recorded these officers of the court telling me that our judicial system, overseen by Sally Quillian Yates, was a massive crime ring. Some of these videos might be hard to hear, but I'm going to have the transcript up so you can, if you need to pause them and read them, you can pause them and read them. This is terrifying. Listen for yourself. Video 1, please.
So, why did the sheriff kidnap me? I've discovered a massive misuse of stimulus money in federal, state, and local funds. In fact, I questioned him about hundreds of thousands of dollars that's missing in our county budget that he's responsible for, him and the district attorney. I'm going to get right down to the evidence, start showing you exactly what's going on. This is what's happening in Barrow, Jackson, and Banks counties. I don't know about Banks for sure, but I'm seeing it all over Barrow and Jackson. This is the Piedmont Circuit, riddled with corruption for many years. 3 judges in prison, or 3 judges disbarred, our district attorneys in prison. This is one of our district attorneys laughing about arresting innocent men and women.
They don't know the arrest me for just for my life is scared. And I suppose the charge, sexual assault, simple battery, and criminal trespass. Criminal trespass? For the war. For any crime. Charge criminal trespass for breaking your own property. Well, that's what everybody keeps telling me, but I realize. So, yeah, they do that all the time. They do it all the time? Yeah.
Wow, they do it all the time. That's not a crime. They can't arrest you for that. And I just laugh because I'm busting him. And listen to him laugh back. Yeah, they do it all the time. That's how they get in the door and take everything you have and destroy your family or force you into organized crime. Watch. When you see the media spin they put on it, arrested before you get bonded out, there's a protective order, taking your children. Your wife is told if she contacts you, they're going to arrest her and take the kids. No joke. They want everything you have. This is massive organized crime, and that's what these attorneys are going to be telling you. Now, I only have time for about 10 different videos on this podcast, and I'll use every one of them, but I have tons more information. I just picked the most powerful attorneys, the lawmakers and the Russells, and the biggest attorneys in this circuit and selected out their statements because they're the most credible witnesses to this massive criminal organization. Next up is Wanda Barnett. Miss Barnett is telling us how the sheriff and district attorney are destroying families for money. 2, please.
Getting tons and tons of federal money for this. This is an attorney, Wanda Barnett. She's been here for 24 years. Listen to her talk nonchalantly about how they destroy our families for money.
If she probably got a no contact bond issued automatically, and if she tried to drop it, they would probably tag her for filing a false report. So what? Have you seen that? Will they do that?
They don't let them just drop it unless they've done through a whole lot. You have to go back in front of the judge and get drop it.
Okay.
That's not done.
So they don't always, just because you want to drop it doesn't mean they're going to drop it. So basically, it's like, yeah, they're going to destroy your family if they want to.
How that works.
They got to have work. They're going to destroy your family if they want to. So in other words, the police come, there's no crime, but they're going to arrest you anyway. I documented in the last video that my police report said that there was not a mark on the victim, that she didn't claim to be hurt, that she didn't want me arrested, that she wanted to apologize. And the police officer said he wouldn't let her apologize. I didn't lay a hand on her. I took one of her hands off me, and I didn't hurt her in the process. That's not a crime. But they arrest you, and then they issue a no-contact bond. You just heard the attorney say that. That's automatic, an automatic no-contact bond. And if she wants that bond dropped, then they will usually threaten her. We're going to lock you up for filing a false police report. She didn't file a false police report. She said that she wasn't hurt. There wasn't a mark on her. She wanted to apologize. This is terrifying. Let's look at it a little closer. The police come to your house, arrest you when there's no crime. Someone says you did something they don't like. It's not a crime. Somebody isn't getting their way, and the police make a bogus arrest and tell the person who called that they have to testify to a crime, or else, and cooperate, or else the law will turn on them. It's automatic, an automatic no-contact bond between a husband and wife. In this case, it's the woman. They tell the woman, well, if you don't testify against him, then we'll charge you. He'll get the kids, you go to jail, you pay him alimony, and they'll still have a no-contact bond. They won't let her apologize. The police told me this. I have records of it, and you'll hear recordings of it. They said she didn't want me arrested, that she just wanted to apologize. But the police are standing in this nice house. They see hot rods and all kinds of toys they'd like to steal. The lower-level police watch the sheriff and district attorney robbing anyone with money, and these corrupt politicians let the police get in on the theft also. This is a video of John Russell, top Georgia lawmaker, telling me what I just told you about turning a woman against her husband. The same thing as Wanda Barnett just told you. Video 3, please.
The court system knows that they're not guilty. This is just horrible. This is John Russell. John Russell's a board member for the Peace Place. He's also a partner with the judge. He knows exactly what's going on, and he talks about how they forced the woman into cooperating and destroying her family. Otherwise, she will often go to jail.
When they tag her, wouldn't they, for filing a false police report?
Well, if they don't want to do that, they won't threaten her. Well, we're going to prosecute you if you come up with that story. They know what they're going to believe.
So they will threaten her.
I'm not going to say 100,000% because they don't really know what they're going to do. See, sometimes they go one way and sometimes another. But it's usually, they're not your friends. They're the enemy. But as you go along...
They're not trying to get justice. They're just trying to prosecute me.
Wow. They are not your friend. They are your enemy. They are trying to make you guilty, says John Russell. They're not trying to protect anyone or protect your family, or they're just trying to make you guilty. The words out of his mouth. They will not, oftentimes, usually not let her drop a no-contact bond Destroying families makes a lot of money. They get all kinds of federal, state, and local funds. And they publish every one of these arrests, and that there was a justified protective order. And the police show up and lie, as I've already shown, making up a complete fabrication to make it look like somebody is a monster, that someone needs protection. He's telling you what I just told you. If you follow this series, you know that John Russell is the name of the biggest crime family and secret society family that I've been exposing for a long, long time. This man is the cousin of Richard Brevard Russell Jr. Let's get a video, not video, but picture one, please. The family I've charted, and a lot of these charts, these families and their connections are going to be on my website, ferrisbroston.com. But in front of you, you see John Russell, a Georgia state legislature that held the Winder seat in the Georgia House of Representatives directly after his father, Alexander Brevard Russell. They held this seat from 1971 to 1987, through the years of the Dixie Mafia, through the years of all this corruption, hitmen, all of the different things that I've already exposed in Barrow County, in Jackson County, Georgia. Now, if you look to the right above John Russell there, you'll see Lewis C. Russell, who is also the mayor of Winder. Judge Lewis C. Russell married Mary Brevard Russell, his sister. That's right. He married his sister. You like it like that? If you want to see more of the circular Russell-Quillian law family, I should have the family trees and the charts up on this website. If they're not already up, I should have them up pretty soon. Alexander Brevard Russell's obituary says that he was the mayor of Winder for 40 years. He was Richard Brevard Russell Jr.'s brother. In other words, this man that you're hearing and his father have been top politicians in Georgia. They know what's going on. They were around through the days of the Dixie Mafia, the protected hitmen, and all the organized crime I exposed, like I said in previous videos. Later in this video, you're going to see me bust this top politician from the Richard Russell family. I catch him in the act doing exactly what I'm exposing now. A policy of corruption, not finding justice, but making you guilty for the purpose of extortion. Piedmont attorneys refer to this sport as legal extortion. It is also called destroying families for money. It's not legal just because he does it or he says it's legal. Conspiring in fraud in kidnapping is highly illegal. It's just that it's a crime done by abusing the law. What's even more incriminating is that John Russell partners with the judge, says that the judges aren't blind justices. He insists that none of them are. You can see that in that transcript. They are obviously seeing things they shouldn't, like his great uncle. This is what secret society does. They meet in secret and they talk about how to work out the case to benefit themselves. None of them are blind justices, according to this top lawmaker, John Russell. But wait, while the prosecutors laugh and the families are destroyed, the DA is on vacation. District Attorney Tim Madison isn't only on vacation with his wife, the lady in charge of the domestic violence system. They're on the clock. Tim Madison has multiple accounts set up in his own name where he is depositing massive amounts of money brought in by organizations that think they're helping children and abused women. You see, the twist is in the news. The reporters depend on the police press releases and usually fail to do any footwork themselves. They just push out whatever narrative the police tell them and give them, the arrest reports. The general public doesn't get a real view of what's really going on. The original news articles from Main Street News included reports of widespread corruption when Tim Madison went to prison. Sally Yates recused herself from the case, and the state prosecuted their own man. This is the man that set up this system that I'm exposing. But instead of correcting the problem, coming clean and admitting that they had destroyed countless families, that the level of corruption was something that millions of people across the state, and now probably our nation, would have a claim against the government for, Attorney General Thurbert Baker made public statements that the corruption was isolated and not widespread. Thurbert Baker will never live down the shame and disgrace that my case will bring on him. To celebrate Thurbert Baker's corruption, protecting a system that's destroying our families, I'll be doing another show next week on the criminals that he let go. The criminals that are exposed in my case, the criminals that I recorded talking about their absolutely horrible criminal organization that I will very clearly show should have had every one of them disbarred. In fact, I already showed that 17 years ago when they took it off the internet. This is what FISA has done to our country, protecting organized crime. These people are hopelessly caught in my case that did show up on the top national news when a whistleblower was killed. Bill Gardner was hit by a car he was hit in a car, a man driving a car. The man's name was Abdul Hafiz Abdul Ahi, which translated means servant of God in Arabic. I already told you repeatedly about Sally Yates and her names in her manipulation of people with the legal system. I think this deserves a whole lot more investigation. I recorded the partners of the criminals that were exposed in this case. One of the co-conspirators even calls her group, wait for it, incestuous. That's right. You'll hear that next week. She'll be talking about the Russells. Other Russells also, overseen by Sally Yates in another shameful extortion case, including targeting minorities. What? Sally Yates, the champion of civil rights? Yes. And protecting the family. You hear that at the entrance to this broadcast. That's the national news that they were already exposed with. Do you love me? Now, I'm not saying that every single one of the domestic violence cases is a phony case. There are, and these attorneys tell me, there are occasionally very scary domestic violence cases. But even those are usually exacerbated. That most of the ones that get really, really scary are the ones that are exacerbated by the police and law enforcement and judges, upper law enforcement, completely turning the law on its head. Heinous discrimination, heinous tampering with evidence, provoking somebody until they lash out. Don't take my word for it. Let's hear it from the former district attorney that worked for Tim Madison. This is Cynthia James. I hired Miss James for a while, but I fired her because she wouldn't get the transcripts and file ethical complaints against the judges who kidnapped my son. Video 4, please.
This is another prosecutor. The last one was Logan Butler. This is Cynthia James talking about their policies of what she calls them.
They can plead guilty, and you tell me what you call that. I don't remember. Extortion? Extortion, yeah.
The district attorney calls it extortion. That's just hilarious. I already showed you most of these guys are innocent. Nobody is prosecuting the innocent men. 85% of the men that were, or the domestic violence cases in Jackson County, Georgia, in December of that year, and I showed you the news articles, somebody that followed this, Mike Buffington, I believe it was, 85% of them were innocent. The prosecutor is on vacation, just billing you and letting his assistants rob and attack whoever they want, like a pack of rabid hyenas. It's a racket. This is Harvey Walter, I don't know. Poor guy's got two last names. Harvey tells you very plainly that the attorneys instruct the clients how to commit these serious crimes. He says the DA's involvement is also criminal, a racket. You're talking about a felony, a combination of crimes that pile up to be a serious felony. And this is an attorney explaining that they're coaching people how to do this. If you look at the transcript, he says that this is what's happening in almost every case he gets. Video 5, please.
This is Walter Harvey. Walter Harvey's been here for some 35 years practicing law. He knows exactly what's going on.
Same way you got the district attorney's office involved in domestic violence cases. And then once you don't get the record, the lawyers get the client to do the domestic violence route.
The lawyers get their clients to do the domestic violence racket. In this case, the partners with the district attorney that designed the system that's in prison is the person who is instructing my wife at that time how to do this. And I document it very, very well. Literally leaving a slipper that she always called her Cinderella slipper and said, if anything goes wrong, bring me my slipper. Let me know you still love me. I didn't take the bait. But they call. The man says, okay, well, I'm going to talk to her. Or just out of habit. Answers the phone. Boom. Felony. It's horrible. It's only fair to tell you that I have special powers before you see this next video. This is John Russell, caught in the act. Now listen, there's no such thing as legal extortion. They're only getting away with it because it's profitable to the government criminals. This is a very serious crime. Now, you just saw Walter Harvey, tell you that it happens in just about every case he gets, and that the attorney instructs the clients on how to commit this crime. He's really in the groove. He's going to tell me how they do it. Watch John Russell talk about how they're getting away with it, and then he does it right in front of my face. Watch John Russell do the twist. Video 6, please.
I didn't fall for it. I didn't take the bait. They play all kinds of nasty tricks, and the closer you are to a corrupt DA, the more you get away with. This is John Russell. This is the conversation I was talking about. This is Caught in the Act.
John Russell. Here. That's good. We've just been working on it, and that's what happened. Now, I think it's better we just leave it like it is. And I'm gonna be taking that final decree into the divorce case pretty soon, but I can't do it right now. I can't turn it loose. In that case, and also, let me be by her to kind of keep it under her mind. Don't be saying too much about it. Be glad about it, but don't speak about it. Don't talk about it. So, it's kind of like, a guy, well, it's like this. You win a case 50 to nothing, or you win a ball game 50 to nothing, do you go around taunting the other side and say, oh, look what a bad guy, bad thing, look how great we are?
Don't talk about it. Don't speak about it. We can't tell you what we're doing around here. It's going to get us in some serious trouble.
Like I said, I have special powers. I can convince anyone that I'm an idiot. John Russell tells me that somehow I managed to avoid a trap that everybody falls into. He points out that they're doing this as a trap and that I have good intuition. He calls it blackmail and extortion, setting a trap for somebody and then prosecuting them. The attorneys tell him how to set the trap, and then the prosecutor prosecutes him. That's called entrapment. The criminal is the prosecutor. The criminal is the attorney that tells him how to do it and the person that does it. The victim is who they prosecute. I just catch him doing it. But I know it's hard to hear that recording, but what it says is profound. We're talking about the destruction of families for money, a heinous abuse. It devastates our society. It affects everyone. If our families are more profitable to destroy than to keep together because criminals in the secret society and those willing to conspire can profit from them, our country can't survive any respectable way. Marriage is going to be an endangered species. Children are going to become endangered species. Marriage is going to become like Russian roulette if it hasn't already. This is the problem with our country, and this is run over protecting this whole thing is Sally Yates, using the FBI and the spy agency tools to protect this criminal racket. Now, I want to read you what he says again, because as I'm standing there acting like I'm not listening, the tape recorder in my pocket picks up John Russell talking to a client. It's important enough he knows who's calling, and it's important enough that he's going to take the phone call while he's talking to me, because he has to make sure that they don't tip their hand and let anybody see what's really going on. Now, John Russell is a board member for the domestic violence system. These places that, if you don't hear him today, you'll hear him tomorrow, the attorneys say are just horrible, man-hating, child-destroying mills. Okay, this is what John Russell says. Again, I'm going to say it a lot more clearly because I know that's hard to see. Whenever he answers the phone, this is what he says to the person that calls. John Russell, yeah, well, we've been working on it, and that's what happened. I can't tell you what's going on behind the scenes. You just better leave it alone. Better leave it as it is. Now, I'm gonna take that final degree in the divorce case pretty soon, but I can't turn loose. In that case, tell her you better keep it under her bonnet. Don't be saying too much about it. Be glad about it, but don't speak about it. Don't talk about it. Well, it's kind of like this. You know a guy, well, it's like this. You win a case 50-0, or you win a ball game 50-0. Do you go around taunting the other side and say, "Oh, look what a bad guy he is"? Just don't do. We don't do things like that. I don't want to deal with it, okay? They don't do things like that. I can't tell you what's going on behind the scenes. You better just leave it. This is our top government official caught in organized crime, destroying families for money. One of Sally Yates' inbred family members. This is a right here, what I'm exposing is top national news that impacts our families in the United States as much as illegal immigration or any of the other stuff that you see on the top national news. This is horrible. And the chief suspect behind this, protecting this, related to these people, is the chief suspect in the grand conspiracy. And I'm the eyewitness against her. I'm just laying out her history of the most heinous corruption imaginable, the damage that these people have done to our country and our society. While attorneys are conspiring with their clients to see if they can provoke someone to murder, the district attorney is buying cars with money laundered through the domestic violence racket and taking vacations while on the clock with his wife, also on the clock. The folks who think they're protecting women and children are primarily financing criminal activity and the destruction of those that they're trying to help. Now, I could do this all day long. I could see plainly that the organized crime and the government was destroying our families. I went to several attorneys who wouldn't file ethics complaints before I decided to catch them in the act. Systematically going undercover with my case and a recorder to collect the testimony of these officers of the courts, joking and laughing with them, being charming and acting naive so they would repeat what I was hearing from the ones I already paid that ripped me off. As far as busting these corrupt individuals who refuse to report the rampant ethical violations, I have a right to do that. I have a compulsory constitutional right to obtain witnesses in my favor, even if they don't want to testify. The judge is supposed to make them, compel them to, but they don't do it because that's as exposes the corruption in the courts. I have a compulsory right to obtain evidence in my favor. Any attorney who conspires to violate my right in an attempt to kidnap my child and steal my property is liable to me in committing a crime that the sheriff and DA are responsible to prosecute. The sheriff and DA should not get money for prosecuting these cases. That's the problem. They're stealing the money. It's already been proven. They've already gone to prison for it, okay? You're beginning to see why my fellow students at UGA wanted me to represent them to the corrupt authorities. Now, that's another story for another day. What I learned was that Sally Yates' long-term Masonic family corruption was something that no attorney was willing to stand up to. They would not fight the windmill, as Bill Heelan put it. But I recorded him saying that one of his clients was arrested for sending his daughter a Valentine's card. Can you imagine? Bill Heelan should have filed an ethics complaint. I'd like to know who issued the warrant for his arrest. I'd like to see them do 20 years in prison for destroying that relationship between a father and a daughter. But I can assure you, there is no such case. They are destroying families for money. I also have recorded videos showing the specific flagrant violations committed by the judges with the exact legal requirements in their canon laws and the evidence of their multiple flagrant violations, many of them flagrant crimes. But no attorney would dare cross Sally Yates' crime spree, nor her legal family. It would be certain ruin for them. That Sally Yates oversaw her own family-run circuit is proof that our federal oversight is a crime ring, not a Justice Department. The biggest joke of all is that Sally Yates was over the crown jewel of the U.S. Department of Justice, the Civil Rights Division. Nobody is more skilled at silencing the media and witnesses than Sally Yates. She repeatedly shut down independent investigations that led back to her, swept up the evidence, and destroyed it. When you have a secret society that controls who gets the positions of FBI, who gets to be the investigator, you control the evidence through the secret society because you control the people in the secret society. In a minute, I'm going to move on to the violent assault and kidnapping of myself by police, what they did to me to try to silence me. I wanted to file an ethics complaint against the judge that acknowledged my case wasn't a protective order case, but yet took my son from me. Judge T-Pin McWhorter, already exposed as a mafia judge, protecting the Dixie Mafia, standing over them for years. I also wanted to file an ethics complaint against Nick Prim, the president. I wanted to file a complaint with the president of the Bar Association against Nick Prim, a senior district attorney that was caught up with Tim Madison. Gabriel Bradford was the president of the Bar Association, and he was also law partners with Nick Prim, my wife's attorney. So I made an appointment to meet with Gabriel Bradford. I wore a bit of a disguise and dressed down to avoid being recognized by Nick Prim. I was hoping to record Gabriel Bradford acknowledging the rampant criminal activity in the circuit, as all the other attorneys had. Then I planned to request to file a legal complaint that I had prepared against his partner. That's the proper process. Incidentally, there is another entire criminal organization these guys are caught up in that was being exposed at the same time. The perpetrators, who were attorneys, made open confessions to me. I've recorded those confessions and recently recovered those also. More major organized crime by Sally Yates' legal family. A racket, yes, that led to a murder or a killing. Yes, the eyewitness was killed. Anyway, while I was waiting for Gabriel Bradford to file this ethics complaint, Nick Prim came out and recognized me, even with my disguise. No doubt the people spying on me warned him that I was coming. I walked out, hopped in my big block Chevy, and cruised on home. I can really move. That's when the police began to attack me, without any reason or warrant. I had an appointment to meet with the president of the bar. Is that a misdemeanor or a felony? When I got home, I parked my hot rod in the garage and walked out to get the mail out of my mailbox. Without warning, a car came flying over the hill at an alarming speed. No light or visible markings on the car, just some lunatic charging straight at me with this deadly weapon. So I'm going to tell you the story as I recall, then I'm going to play the recordings of the witnesses and the evidence who called and reported police brutality at my house. Several witnesses, including paramedics who could plainly tell that I was not only hurt, but that I needed surgery after their attacks. When the criminal tried to run me down in my driveway, I ran in the house, locked up everything in the safe, and left by the back door. I was heading to the neighbors to get help and witnesses through the woods where I'd be less likely to be harassed by whoever. There had been a lot of whoever's following me around and harassing me around. It's Winder, Georgia, the home of the Dixie Mafia. Now, as I walked up through the woods behind my house, trying to get away from this lunatic that tried to run me over my driveway, I heard somebody walking through the woods. I thought it was a deer. I stopped, hid behind a tree because I didn't want the deer to start snorting and give away my location. And then I saw it was a giant man with an AR-15 walking, didn't see me, walking towards me. I sat behind the tree, put my hands out, and said, "Don't shoot." He aimed the gun straight at me and repeatedly threatened to kill me if I looked at him. His immediate response was, "Don't look at me," face down in the ground. He came up to me and pressed the AR-15 to the back of my head, pushing my face into the dirt, repeatedly telling me that if I looked at him, he would kill me. He said he just wanted to talk at some point. And when other officers began to show up, he was very agitated, saying that he wouldn't be able to talk to me now. He had other motives. You see, he was trying to force me into this racket that I didn't understand. He threw something wet on the back of my neck. I suppose it was Rohypnol. That seems to be their favorite. They had drugged me with that repeatedly, not the police. Although the police did do it later when I was held in jail and I didn't have any choice about what I ate or drank. He was mad when these other police officers arrived, like I said, made some comments about just wanting to talk to me. The other police came in, they handcuffed me despite my injury and against my complete cooperation. They just, regardless of how cooperative and nice and respectful I was, they just decided that they wanted to hurt me more. By the grace of God, there was someone watching at the only house that can even see my house. My neighbors quickly rallied and came to my defense. They called and reported police brutality. As my neighbor's daughter tried to help me, the police yanked me away while the big guy with the AR-15 snuck out with the assault rifle hidden behind his leg. "What do you want me to do?" she asked, probably expecting me to request she call someone or bail me out. "Talk to your friends and neighbors," I said. "There's already a plan in place." I was bluffing in a desperate attempt to save my own life, knowing that there was nobody who would be able to stand up to the corrupt authorities and protect me from this horrible ongoing attack. The police shoved me into a car, drove me to a vacant cul-de-sac out of sight of my neighbors, literally kidnapping me without cause, without a warrant. But they knew they were caught again. There were multiple witnesses there that were calling and reporting police brutality. After quite some time, the paramedics arrived and took a look at me. "Just stop hurting him," was all the paramedics requested. They could tell that everything about the situation was wrong. They had a man held as a hostage with no charges, taken away from anyone that could see, to a vacant cul-de-sac. I could tell that the paramedics immediately knew that there was something bad wrong. I later found the paramedics and recorded them stating that I was clearly hurt. Because when the police report came out, it said that I was completely fine. No injury whatsoever. That they had a warrant, a reason for this arrest. There were well-documented injuries to both of my arms. Later, weeks later, or days later, when Amadeus Mason examined me, he informed me that the injuries I had were known to be quite painful and physically limiting. I knew that. Still, I didn't resist at all while they continued to injure me. There was no charge against me whatsoever before or after this kidnapping. Let's start with the undercover officer that tried to run me down in the driveway. First, I'm going to play the videos of what I documented, and then you're going to hear from the eyewitnesses. This is the first video I made after Sergeant Thrasher brought me back to my house and released me from this kidnapping that they were caught in. Video 7, please.
This is the day that their police came down here and harassed me when Wanda's daughter came out and rescued me from police who were torturing me. This is where they tried to run me over in my driveway. The tape measure here should document the exact width, and this will give you a good idea of the pattern on the tread to show that this was a police car that came up here and literally skidded up into the driveway as I'm trying to check my mail, and I'm walking back up to my house. This police car literally tries to run me over. I didn't know it was a police car. All I knew was somebody tried to run me over, and I ran inside. And the next thing I know, the police are setting up a perimeter. So I took some evidence against them, and I went to hide it in the woods, where I was greeted by a big mad cop with an AR-15 threatening to blow my brains out, even though I'm standing there with my hands up. This is a pretty disturbing behavior for our police department. I'm also going to show what I look like today. This is my outfit, and here's me. I'm in a little bit of a disguise. I'm going to get a haircut hopefully tonight or tomorrow. I'm in a disguise because I was trying not to be identified while I was collecting information and evidence against our police department, which is why they tried to arrest me. But they took me up in the woods and dragged me out of the woods, and my neighbor saw it and came out to my rescue because they were hurting me, and she cried out for them to help me, and went and called the police, and they took me over the hill to a cul-de-sac out of sight, and finally called EMS after leaving me in pain and torturing me for quite some time. They finally called EMS because the witnesses were also screaming. This is just really, really disturbing behavior from our police department here. But again, today is...
All right, so I took a clip from the end of that video there. It's picture number 5, please, because it's relevant to this case. Like I said, I just recovered these videos. I haven't seen them in many, many years. People sent them to me from the South that have had them for quite some time. That white truck you see there is Bertha. So if you follow this case, and when people do start hopefully looking into this, that's Bertha. That Suburban is restored, but the name Bertha replaces the factory Suburban lettering on the barn doors. So that's relevant to understanding this case. The gold truck is the truck I was driving when I visited the president of the Bar Association. We made a video with yet another neighbor, came out and made a video right then, about that time. A little bit later, it was darker, showing that neither of those trucks could have made those skid marks like the ones in my driveway, that those were made by completely different vehicles. The treads don't even come close. And the next video is going to be my neighbor, Lanny, okay? First eyewitness to see this, Lanny is an elderly man on oxygen that saw this attack. And, well, I'll let Lanny tell you what he saw. Video 8, please.
Now I'm going to play some of the evidence to prove my claims. This is Lanny. Lanny is a neighbor of mine who saw the sheriff's deputy come to my house with an assault rifle.
Monday? Yeah. Okay. You say you saw that guy with the assault rifle come up here?
Yeah, man.
Yeah? Would you recognize him if you saw him again?
No.
You don't think you would? He was big around, wasn't he?
Tall.
Tall? Yeah. I never got to look at him very good because he wouldn't let me look at him. He threatened to shoot me if I looked at him, so I couldn't identify him either. He was wearing a police outfit, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. I have a neighbor who saw a man with an assault rifle. Now, the police reports, they shredded, completely gone. They're trying to act like this never happened, but I've got copies of those police reports after being held for hostage and all this time because I made all those videos, and they're on the videos. Now, this is going to be Carrie. This is another one of my neighbors that reported police brutality. Video clip 9, please.
This is Carrie, another one of my neighbors who saw and reported police brutality that's gone completely ignored.
Yeah, that's what I witnessed. And what did I just witness police brutality? What was it? I told him, that I saw you coming out, and I said, there's something broken. I said, I noticed that they had the 2 handcuffs on him, and a man at his side wouldn't normally need 2 sets of handcuffs. So they knew that there was something wrong with his hand or his arm or something. And I said, but they still were jerking on him and, put him in the car. And I said, but there's no ambulance here.
They were desperate to get me away from the witnesses. They didn't care that I was injured. And if you look at the transcript, I think it's on that one right there. She's made more than one statement. They're both very, very similar, and somebody else that was involved nearby also on that. But she says they told her, we're not going to give him medical attention. We're not going to let you report police brutality. That's what she says. That's in her recorded statement and in the transcript. And I have a right to the 911 recordings. But like I said, the attorneys will not stand up to the corrupt authorities. They're going to steal everything you have, like they did with me. The lovely house, the hot rods, everything. Everything out of my safe. They took whatever they wanted, everything. It's absolutely horrible that this can happen in the United States of America. Now, then they falsified a police report. I have that, and you're going to see some of that. I took some pictures of it because I'm out of, like I said, I can only do 10 videos. This is one of the paramedics that very clearly says the same thing my neighbor says, that I was obviously injured and there was damage to my arm. He saw it then, and he says that he saw it then, and he can see it when I'm making this recording. Watch. Video to clip 10, please.
they didn't have any charges against me or anything, but they were holding me and they were handcuffed. I didn't know what was doing, and they handcuffed me on my handcuffs. And after a few minutes behind my back, you could see where it tore off my shoulder, couldn't you?
Yeah, he could see where my bicep was torn off my shoulder, and the police claimed that I wasn't hurt at all. And we're going to have to fast forward for a minute. You can tell a big difference from one arm to the other.
Wow. That's one of the paramedics that saw, he came, there, like I said, they were torturing me. They injured me, repeatedly pulling up on handcuffs throughout these multiple different times when they had bogus arrest and trying to kidnap me. But they put my hands behind my back and then pulled up on the handcuffs, and it tore the bicep off of my shoulder. So your bicep, or off my chest. So your bicep attaches to your shoulder and your chest. It balled up in my arm, and you could see it deformed under the skin. The police could see this, but nonetheless, they left me in handcuffs behind my back, writhing in pain, as my neighbors report and the paramedics report. When the paramedics came in, they were like, "Take his handcuffs off him. He's not fighting. What are you doing? Like, why are y'all doing this?" I said, at that point, I was in so much pain, I didn't even care. I just leave, you know, if you got to have handcuffs on me, put them in front. They put the handcuffs in front. It took away the immediate pain. I have an extremely high tolerance for pain. It took away the pain. It was enough that we could carry on. But why would you attack and handcuff and kidnap someone when you don't have any charges against them? That in itself is a crime by the police. I was attacked by these criminals who are trying to cover up what they're doing. There was no crime. Now, they try to lie and say that somebody told me to, like the first arrest at my house, somebody told us to do this. Really? Okay, well, let's go to picture 3, please. Like I said, I'm out of video space room, but I have video of the police report. Here, this is Investigator Lott with Jackson County, and I can't even read it there, but I know what it says. I ask him, you know, is there a warrant for my arrest? And he says, no. And then he says, and I ask him, I says, is there a police report? No. So the investigator, the police in Barrow County say we're doing this because Jackson County told us they have a warrant for his arrest, or they're in the process of getting a warrant for his arrest for criminal trespass because I tried to report an ethics violation. Yes, you tried to report that your child was kidnapped to the proper authority, and so we are going to arrest you. But I was so compliant and kind and quiet and avoiding any conflict that they couldn't even begin to fabricate a report that would support that. By the grace of God, my witnesses, my neighbors came out and told what really happened. This is what they do if you object to being robbed and having your family destroyed for money. If you object to having your child kidnapped. This is the most heinous organized crime you have seen in this country to date because it is carried out by our top law enforcement officials, the same ones that tried to use FISA to overthrow our country, the exact same one that is the chief national suspect. I'm being silenced, and I don't like it. Next week, another criminal organization under Sally Quillian Yates, a law firm that only knows how to break the law. Literally, a group of attorneys telling me about the organized crime in their law firm as a general policy. This includes the man who is the Chief Superior Court judge today, Nick Prim, caught in my case and in next week's case also. Nick was caught up with Tim Madison, and you will hear the eyewitness talk about that. The paper said he was caught with $7,000 of stolen funds, and you will see that in my videos from 17 years ago. $7,000 of funds stolen from the domestic violence racket that put Tim Madison behind bars. Now, you can't find that in the paper because someone took it down. Wonder who did that? Sally Yates? Same as other cases that Mike Buffington investigated. The FBI takes over the investigation, silences the media, brings the evidence to Sally Yates, the U.S. attorney, and voila, it's gone. Or is it? You're watching evidence today that's reappeared because I knew what they were doing and I knew how to catch them. And by the grace of God, there's some other people that cared enough to help me. Did someone at the top save the evidence to control Nick Prim, the man that was caught up with Tim Madison? He's now the Superior Court judge. Is he just a puppet on the string by these people that swept up all the evidence? Sally Yates and the top FBI? Are they really just controlling the chief Superior Court judge, this mobster that I already caught that should be doing life in prison, along with the district attorney and the sheriff now? The same people that are caught in my case? That seems pretty obvious, doesn't it? Now, back here in North Dakota, I want to let you know that I miss all of my dear friends back from Georgia. I've lost everything due to FISA, but I'm not going to be silent. My friends told me to never change, and I haven't. If you elect me as your representative and you bring a police report that doesn't line up with the videos that you have, I'll put you on this show right here and demand an explanation for whatever corrupt authority is behind it. I love our upright law enforcement. Most of the guys I've come across, I think all of them that I've come across here in Minot have been awesome. I'm dedicated to making sure, in fact, all over North Dakota, I haven't had any problems. I'm dedicated to making sure that we keep the right guys in the right places and get the deep state conspirators out of our government on all levels. Do you really love me? Watch me now. Next week, same thing. Till next time, stay away from Sally Quillian Yates hitmen. They're not your friend.